becoming frustrated with all of this aggression from this community. Can you elaborate or speak a little bit about that and how it looks currently in our community?
Certainly. Well, not only is Kevin Hart a recent casualty in this LBGT war, this army, this mafia that they have, and we call it that because LGBT is the first social issue in American history that you are not allowed to disagree with. I mean, let's just take a moment to understand that. All of America's history, you could disagree with anything you want. Muslims could disagree with Christians, okay? Republicans could disagree with Democrats. Poor people could disagree with the wealthy. You know, you always had a right to an opinion. In fact, the Constitution allegedly protects your right to it. The Bill of Rights allegedly protects your right to an opinion and the expression of it. But when it comes to the homosexual movement, you don't have any constitutional right to disagree with that. When it comes to the LGBT crusade, you don't have any Bill of Rights protections to express your disagreement with this lifestyle. And so, as you know, with Kevin Hart, they went back almost a decade and found some tweets that he made, allegedly insensitive tweets about homosexuals that he apologized for, retracted millions of times. And of course, Kevin Hart and I, we're from the same North Philadelphia neighborhood. I mean, he made it clear, you know, rightly or wrongly, that he made a mistake. But yet and still, they decide to bring this up to try to, you know, sabotage him becoming an host at the Oscars. Well, we just saw our sister Sandra Bland, who was murdered by the police in Texas. There's a new HBO documentary on her life, and guess what? A black LGBT organization came out and said they're not going to support the Sandra Bland documentary. Now, this is a black woman who was murdered by the police in a jail cell in Texas. And you have gay black people saying, because she did not support us, we're not going to support her documentary. Well, excuse me. Since when did gay sex become more important than black life? Since when did gay sex become more important than black life? The Sandra Bland issue ain't just about Sandra Bland. It's about her and the rest of us, because police genocide is a big issue in the black community. Probably the most dangerous risk to African life right now is police genocide. Not high blood pressure, not diabetes, not heart disease. Police, i.e. white males. And so for the gay community to try to drive a wedge of dissension within the black community is unacceptable. But we as a community are responsible for this. Because while Barack Hussein Obama, 44th president of the United States, was pushing this gay agenda on our community, we sat down and said nothing. Barack Obama wasn't challenged by a single black organization as to why he was protecting and promoting the homosexual agenda in the black community, to include the school building. So we are partly responsible for the momentum that the black LGBT movement has in our community, because we let Barack Obama ignite a match under it, and we did nothing about it for 8 years.
Dr. Umar, so can you tell me if there is a difference, what the difference is? We had a situation with a brother, I can't think of his name, but this is the brother who was shot down by the police, but they found some videotapings of him, and I guess it was his Asian girlfriend, and he was bashing black women. And I struggled with the idea that women that look like me couldn't really separate the two, that this was a part of police brutality. It became a thing of, we're not speaking up, we're not using his voice, our voice for him, because he didn't love us. And I guess I'm trying to understand the difference between what black gay people are doing, like the Sandra Bland thing, and that situation. Is there a difference? And how do we determine whether we should use our voice to stand with someone who was, who died at the hand of our oppressors, versus when do we determine that? How do we determine that? Because I feel like there's a similarity between the two. I could be seeing it wrong, but can you tell me there's a difference between those two?
They are, in essence, that's a wonderful question, and I'm glad you drew that parallel, Queen. In my opinion, they are one in the same. In the Stephon Clark situation,
right.
You have a black male unjustifiably murdered by the police, and we subsequently find out that he had a lot of negative things to say about black women, that he would not date a black woman, he was not dating a sister. At the time of his murder, he was dating a non-African woman, and I forget her ethnicity, and so a lot of black women said, we cannot stand in protest of the police violence against this brother because he did not support us. It's the same thing with Sandra Bland.
Thank you.
So in that case, that was the feminist movement, black feminists. Well, in the case with Kevin Hart, it's the black LGBT. And they're saying, in the case of Kevin Hart and in the case of Sandra Bland, we can't support the Sandra Bland documentary because she made an alleged homophobic comment about us. And the comment wasn't even homophobic. She said, I have family who are gay. I have friends who are gay. I don't have anything against them. But being gay is not the same as being black. And if we put as much attention on protecting black life as we do on protecting gay sex, then maybe black people would be in a better position. I totally agree with what she said. In fact, I say it all the time. But again, in both cases, in the Stephon Clark situation, the feminists are driving a wedge within the community as it relates to an issue that all of us should be passionate about. And then in the Sandra Bland case, the homosexuals are driving a wedge in the black community about an issue that we should all be passionate about. Notice how both issues are about police brutality.
Right.
The Sandra Bland case, police brutality. Stephon Clark, police brutality. And in both cases, what do you see? A white movement, feminism and homosexuality, a white movement coming into the black community to divide and conquer, separate and rule, and split our political force toward destroying and eliminating police brutality. In other words, here's the point I want to make. The LGBTism and feminism and multiculturalism are the new white supremacy. This is the new racism. Racism has reinvented itself and has put on a new cloak. One cloak is homosexuality. The other cloak is feminism. And if we want to destroy Kevin Hart, we're not just going to come with some alpha white male racism. We're going to say that he was insensitive to gays. If we want to undermine the black community's campaign against police genocide, we're not going to come with some alpha white male racism. We're just going to say Sandra Bland was insensitive to homosexuals and undermine the war, the black community's war against police genocide. If we want to protect the police in California who took this young black man's life, we're not going to come with some alpha white male racism. We're going to say that he didn't like black women and he didn't date black girls. And thus we're going to energize the black feminist community against Stephon Clark and do what? Take attention away from the true enemy. Take attention away from the true issue. Take attention away from the true crusade, and that is to crush white supremacy in the form of police genocide. Homosexuality and feminism are nothing but the new tools of racism.
Oh, wow. Ashe. You put it that way. Yeah. Can we go into and elaborate for those who still have difficulty believing that there is an agenda at play, a homosexuality agenda at play? For me, what made it resonate so much for me was that when I was growing up, there may have been 2, maybe 3 homosexuals that we knew of in our community. Everybody knew who they were, but that was them. And now here we are, not even a full-fledged generation later, and it's just expounded to everywhere. They're in every facet of society. It just went from 0 to 360 overnight. And for me, that's not a normal progression. Normal progression is a systematic, slow progression of things. This thing went from 2 people to 200 people in your community overnight. So for me, that was enough for me to realize that this is something is abnormal going on here. But can you kind of explain to us what you would say to those who say there's no homosexual agenda at play?
A couple of points and an excellent question. The homosexual agenda is being funded by heterosexuals. Say that again.
Wow.
The homosexual agenda is being funded and orchestrated by straight white men and straight white women. Why would heterosexuals be behind the rise of homosexuality? And it's real simple. Population control. They have tried every weapon under the sun to control and reduce the numbers of black people, not only in America, but internationally. I am a Pan-Africanist. This is a Pan-Africanist problem. It is everywhere. So we use abortion, and it has been effective, but it has not brought us a victory. We've used AIDS. It has been effective, but it has not victory. We've used Ebola. We've used cervical cancer. We've used prostate cancer. We've used hysterectomy. We've used black on black crime. We've used mass incarceration. We've used police genocide, mental illness even as a weapon. We've used food, poor diet, nutrition, and yet and still, black people are still the largest population on the earth. Mm-hmm. We need a super weapon. That super weapon is homosexuality. Unlike every other strategy used, with homosexuality, you don't have to kill the life that has already been created. With every other strategy I named, you're working in a reactionary fashion. You're trying to kill a life that has already been conceived. With homosexuality, you prevent life from being created in the first place. See, with homosexuality, you change the boy's natural desire for a woman into an unnatural desire for a man. You change the little girl's natural desire to be with a boy, and you change it into an unnatural desire to be with a girl. So homosexuality is a super weapon, because if you can successfully change the natural sexual appetite of people so that they are now unnaturally attracted to people of the same gender, the semen can never fertilize the egg.
Now, how do they do that, though?
So with homosexuality, you prevent the reproductive energy of the man from ever meeting up with the reproductive energy of the woman. It is the most Machiavellian and effective strategy racism has created to control black numbers.
How are they doing that, though?
Excellent question. Well, let's go back. First of all, this grew out of the Black Power movement. This grew out of the Black Power movement. Stan Lee, I believe it was, the white man who created the Black Panther character. When he created the Dora Milaje military group that you saw in the Black Panther movie, one of them was lesbian, if not the whole military brigade of women. One was a lesbian. The lesbian black movement protested Black Panther. We didn't hear about this because Walt Disney had so much power that they were able to silence them. But the black lesbian movement protested the Black Panther movie. They wanted it shut down because they did not properly cast the Dora Milaje as the lesbians Stan Lee created them to be. Why is that relevant? Because towards the end of the Black Panther movement, the Black Power movement, the government assault against the Panthers and the Black Liberation Army, you get this comic book character created with a gay character when you know that the Black Power and Black Liberation movement did not tolerate homosexuality. The reason that character was put in there is that was the beginning of the propaganda campaign to make homosexuality acceptable to black youth. It goes back that far. It got its greatest push from Barack Obama, but it goes back to the 60s. So, also in the 60s, they assassinate Dr. King, 68. The very next year after they assassinate Dr. King, the word homophobia is invented. by a Dr. Weinberg, a doctor of clinical psychology, as am I, and a psychotherapist. He created the word homophobia the year after Dr. King was murdered. No coincidence. Homophobia as a concept was created in order to turn the civil rights movement into a crusade for human rights and civil protections. And in order to do that, you first have to uncertify homosexuality as a mental illness, which it was until 1974.
Right.
So creating the term homophobia gave momentum to the gay movement to force the American Psychiatric Association to decertify it as a mental illness. And also, please note, the same man that invented the word homophobia was instrumental in getting the American Psychiatric Association to remove it from its list of mental disorders. Once it was removed from its list of mental disorders, the United States government, again, heterosexuals, picked up the homosexual movement and used it to eclipse, block out, and totally bury the black agenda. The gay agenda was created by heterosexual white males to destroy the black agenda.